Radio Rahim. I don't even need to introduce this man, the legend, the living legend, Sugar Ray Leonard. Sugar Ray, you're here. It's Pacquiao Marquez for the younger fans. They look at a Marquez and a Pacquiao fight, something like my generation would maybe look at you and Hagler, you and Hearns. How would you compare these these legendary fights that we're about to be at the fourth one with your legendary fights?
Well, it's just the excitement, the anticipation, the electricity, the energy that's in the air. This fight is up there without question. In fact, I just spoke with Manny and Marquez, and I told them how much of a boxing fan I am of theirs, and how much I enjoy their three very, very close, highly controversial, if you will, fights. So this fight here on Saturday, I would say, is one of the most important fights of their career.
Now, you've said that these fights are close. We all know that. How did you score the first three fights?
Well, naturally with 3 knockdowns, you say, well, Pacquiao. But I think 2 of them could have went either way. It was one of those fights that, the way I pictured it, I look at when I fought Tommy Hearns the second time. He knocked me down twice and it was a draw. Tommy won that fight. So it depends on who you ask.
Now, how do you respond, and how does Pacquiao respond to you? Because even though Marquez is part of this series of fights, obviously Manny has the fanfare. He kind of is more closer to walking in your shoes than Marquez. So when you interact with him, what sense do you get of him?
Confident, a guy who feels that he can win this, a guy who is very proud, a guy who is a real fighter, a guy who wants to fight, wants to win, wants to be convincing. This is really almost like redemption.
When you compare the styles, again, your fights have been stylistically fascinating. What do you see with the contrast between Marquez and Pacquiao?
Well, you have Pacquiao, who has exceptional, gifted hand speed, great footwork, and then you have the kind of counterpuncher in Marquez who waits for the opportunity. In fact, I think in the first 3 fights it was Pacquiao who was winning the earlier rounds, and as usual, Marquez comes back, whether it's from a knockdown or whatever, he comes back strong, and it becomes a challenge.
If I could turn to what you're doing in life right now, I've spoken to my hand a share of former champions, guys who are out of the game and out of the ring. You are one of the most successful. Talk to me about how it was that you transitioned out of the ring into business and then are still in the business of boxing.
Well, at some point, and I'm saying it's not easy, at some point you have to say, there's nothing that's going to give me that sense of satisfaction or that sense of stimulation as raising your hands as a champ. Nothing really compares to that. But if you stay productive, and you do something that you enjoy doing, like for me, I like entertaining. You can also stay relevant, because this is a whole different generation, especially with the technology and social networking and what have you. But I also have fun. I'm very gifted. I'm very blessed, I should say, to have had an illustrious boxing career and to still be relevant.
Every generation talks about the good old days. Well, you are definitely a part of the good old days of boxing. How would you compare your era with this era?
Well, naturally, I would say my era is better than any era, without question. And you also had more superstars. Those Hagler, Hearns, Duran. You had so many great fighters and fighters who fought. Although we still wanted the money, without question. I understand that. But we also wanted to prove that we're the best by fighting the best.
Now, you were a showman. You grabbed the media attention. There's guys out there like Floyd Mayweather, even the young Adrian Bronner, guys who are coming up that are grabbing the media attention a little bit more brashly than you. When you see that, do you bristle at that, or do you just cheer them on?
No, I cheer them on. I understand that. And, each one had their own personality and their own way of promoting themselves. So be it. It's good. It's good for boxing. I think that boxing needs more personalities, more characters.
And lastly, Ray, if you could impart a piece of wisdom to these up-and-coming fighters, guys who are looking to you and hoping to walk in your shoes one day, what would it be? What would you say to a fighter on the cusp?
Well, to maintain perspective and to never second guess the next guy, the opponent, or the challenger, to be nice and to always give back and stay focused.
Sugar Ray Leonard, Radio Rahim with the sweetest sugar of all, Sugar Ray Leonard. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Cool, man.